I want to share a little bit of research with you to build my point here. First of all, I want to share with you a New York study that has observed the expectations of teachers being carried out in a very profound way. These teachers, this group of teachers, were in a study, and they were told that certain children had achieved certain test results. And one teacher was informed that all of her students had the highest scores on the test, and the other was told that her students had the lowest scores on the test. And even though the students were randomly assigned, the teacher who thought they had the highest scoring students taught them as if they were the highest scoring students, and the teacher who had been told that they were given the lowest scoring students taught them as if they were the lowest scoring students. After revealing the information to the teachers, they began to see how their thoughts and expectations did make a difference. And so if we have judged someone to be incompetent, incapable, then that's how we attitudinally teach them. If we think someone, or have decided that someone is competent and capable, then we teach to them that way. So our energy, our attitudinal energy, is coming through whether we mean for it to be or not. And what they found out is that the teacher who, even though these were exceptional children, the teacher who taught them as if they were the lower results got those results. And the teacher who taught his or her students as if they were on the high end got those kind of results, even though it was a bunch of mainstream kids. They were all pretty much right here. Then there was another study done at Stanford University to show the measurable and dramatic acceleration in reading speed. And so what they did with they went out to some schools and they took all the remedial reading programs, the signs down off of the doors, the classroom door, and they changed them to accelerated reading. So the kids would come in and the class title was accelerated reading. And so what happened? The students who were not reading well became accelerated readers. So all the more important to understand how we label each other and how we limit each other with how we label. As I listen to people talk about the people in their lives that are impossible, and they'll never ever change. The first thing we want to look at is our own behavior, and that's not necessarily what we do. We tend to look at the behavior of what's happened and make ourselves exempt from having participated. That's just one of the first things. And I understand that this can push some buttons for people who have been on the receiving end of abuse. I want to come back to this being against bullying. It's a perception, and each and every one of us have been raised with certain perceptions, certain understandings of those perceptions. And what new knowledge does is it expands your ability to see things differently, more positively. There was some research done at Harvard Medical School 25 years ago with one group of kittens, and they were raised in a room that had horizontal stripes. And they had another group of kittens that were raised in a room with vertical stripes. And when the kittens grew up to be wise old cats, one group of cats could only see horizontal world, and the other group could only see a vertical world. So the horizontal group cats would bump into furniture legs, not because they didn't believe in its existence, but because they didn't have a neurological connections in their nervous system to see a vertical world. So when they would put these cats in a room, they had been raised with vertical, but they were put in a room with horizontal, they kept bumping into things. Not because those things weren't there, but just because their perception, they couldn't see it, and vice versa. So when we come at bullying, when we come at unskillful behavior, hurtful, harmful behavior, when we get into judgment, we're coming at it, and we will not remedy it. We will not fix it. It will not improve. That person will just push back harder. And so what this training is about is how not to push back, but to be amazingly effective. Attitudinally, energetically, and skillfully. Now, to the person who says, but Mary, you just don't understand how impossible the people I'm dealing with on this subject, I mean, how violent, how abusive, how horrible they are. I want to share another. Again, it's just, what do you know? What research have you really looked into? How far have you really expanded your knowledge on this? What is your perception? Are you living in a vertical world or a horizontal world? And if you've been raised one way to see things only one way, this is an invitation. This is an invitation to expand your world, to start considering what a horizontal world might look like. So let's say that we have a person who has bully behavior and they were raised in a horizontal world. And we have a person with victim mindset and behavior and they were raised in a vertical world. So now we just have two things going on and nobody's willing to see beyond the vertical or the horizontal stripes. And that's what this invitation is about, is getting more knowledge. The only thing that will change that, the only thing is getting new knowledge, expanding our understanding so we can see with eyes of understanding. We're not understanding anything when we're coming at. We're not asking questions. We're not, instead of, why'd you do it? That's not a question. First of all, just stop doing that. That's not working, okay? So the tools that will work, I have put in the course. So I have another piece of research for you. It's by Dr. Irene Casorla. And I found this in her book, Go For It. She writes about a patient she had during her internship named Charlie Blake. Charlie was known throughout Britain as one of the sickest men in the country because he had severe schizophrenia. For 30 years, he sat in a rocking chair, rocking back and forth while staring at the ground and muttering guttural sounds out of his throat. Irene decided to do her doctoral thesis on positive versus negative strokes. The results were so astounding that her peers accused her of using drugs. But all she did was send positive vibes. Beginning with the first day, she began working with him. She took a rocking chair in and started rocking with him in sync. In sync. And then she would turn her shoulders toward him and give him loving eye contact, lead toward him, and compliment him. Charlie, I like how your hair is combed today. Charlie, I like how your clothes look on you today. So just very simple compliments, back and forth, rocking, and she would turn back away. Charlie, I like the way you blink your eyes. Charlie, I like the tone in your voice. And she took her shoulders and she would turn away from him if he ever started into psychotic behavior. And he would start using these low guttural sounds. As she turned away, she would count to 10, and then she would turn back around and start praising him again. In 29 days, she had Charlie Blake walking, talking, and answering a majority of questions correctly. So, if this one simple connecting piece, no judgment, no fear, no attitudinal skepticism, disappointment, being offended, all the stuff that we resort to try to control other people with, just straight connection, if that can change and transform a person who has basically been considered impossible, then imagine what we can be doing with people who are behaving emotionally and unskillfully because of something that has not gotten addressed in their life up to this point.